My name is Dan Finucane, and I'm currently a regent. I love folk music, blues music, and I love singing and playing with other people.
My name is Ian Peoples. I'm a Jesuit regent. I'm kind of a football fanatic. Most of my weekends are spent watching at least a few games. I'm probably one of the biggest Lionel Messi fans.
Hello and welcome back to MagisTalk. I'm Dan Finucane, and you'll notice I am not joined by my friend and brother Ian Peoples this week because he's actually behind the camera filming this episode. Because this week we are on site. It's a rare thing for us. We're on site in Punta Gorda town, where we're very excited to have as our guest Sister Higinia Bull. Sister Higinia is a member of the Sisters of Charity of Nazareth. She's from San Antonio, not too far from here in Punta Gorda in Toledo District. She received a master's degree in social work from St. Louis University, and we just realized we were there at the same time for about 3 years overlap, but never met. So kind of fun. And currently, Sister Higinia is a member of the Parish Council at St. Peter Claver Church here in Punta Gorda, and works with Father Sam Wilson, who we've had on a previous episode in the villages, helping train the lay catechists. So, Sister Higinia, thank you so much for taking the time to be on our show.
I'm happy to be.
We're really happy to have you, and it's something that Ian and I have been talking about for a long time, and it just worked out that we'd be down here this weekend because we're celebrating 160 years of St. Peter Claver Parish. So we really are excited.
Yeah, it is an exciting time to be here. I'm probably to be doing this.
Yes, and you've been a big part of putting all this together.
Helping to, see how, and not knowing really how it would all be, but last night, the opening night, I thought went very well. It was beautiful.
Yes.
And the participation of people across the country and outside Belize coming to support us here. And it's really a wonderful experience and coming together.
Definitely.
At this time.
Yeah, we've got people here from the United States. We've got people from different parts of Belize, all here to celebrate.
Yes. And the locals will be here today.
Wonderful. Yeah, today is a big fair.
Big fair, yes. Wonderful. Different foods, different also cultural programs will be happening, and just a social time, games for the kids, for young and old, everybody, So hopefully the weather cooperates and keeps cool like this, and so it'll be a good time. And later on tonight, we're going to have like boat rides because there's moon. I'm not sure if it's full moon, but there's the moonlight, and then fireworks to close off the day. So
big celebration. So maybe, Sister Higinia, what we like to do when we interview people is to get to know where you come from. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about San Antonio, the town you grew up, a little bit about your culture, and what your faith experience was growing up.
Okay. Like you already said, I am from San Antonio, 21 miles from here. San Antonio is one of the largest villages in the Toledo district. All Mopan people. Growing up, it wasn't totally Mopan community because we had our Garifuna teachers working in the villages, policemen working in the villages, and so we were sort of introduced to that mixture until about maybe I would say 25 years ago, when we had more opportunity for the young men and young women to go to school. And so that opened up a way for Mayan teachers, indigenous teachers. And so really at this time, San Antonio is fully Mopan. Police, we have very few nurses that are still other ethnic groups, but mostly Mopan too. And so policemen, teachers, and then the people that works there, mostly are Mopan. So that connection, like especially with the Garifuna people, is not as strong like it used to be, And my faith, I came from a family of 10. Both mom and dad are in heaven now. But my dad was a catechist in the church, served his church for a very, very long time. So growing up, we were always in church, very strong into the church. And then I became a teacher, and at that time too, teachers were, we go to church and we take our kids, and there was also a program at Trinidad Farm, run by a Jesuit father who was Jerry Nonningham and Sister Mera Mercy Sister, who run the program for teachers and to be trained religion coordinators. So I was able to be a part of that for 2 years to get trained, and then you come back to your school and you help teachers, mentor teachers how to teach religion to their students. Along with that, we used to go to villages in the district at Catholic schools, and it was like zoned, and do these workshops with our teachers. So all that has helped to strengthen my faith and really loved religion. Really loved getting to know my faith in a much deeper way.
And it sounds like for you, it was something that you saw leadership in your own family growing up with your dad, and then getting a chance to get this training up at Trinidad Farm and then bring it back and share it. And it strikes me that you're still doing that today.
Yes.
It's kind of coming full circle. Maybe could you tell us a little bit about how you started to think about religious life and what led you to the Sisters of Charity?
When I graduated from high school, I had to look for a job, and teaching was about the only thing I could, and had to be home. So I was hired, and I was given like infant one, first graders to teach, and I was like, I don't know how to teach. I don't know what do I do with these crying babies. So anyway, the Sisters of Charity were in San Antonio, and one of the sisters in particular, Sister Jan Loreto, was like the religion coordinator for San Luis Rey. And so I remember talking with her, meeting her and talking with her, and I said, I really do not know what to do, how to teach. I'm getting frustrated. I don't think I'm called to be a teacher. And so she said to me, I can help you with religion. I can help you with that, but the other subjects I can't. But she said, there will be a sister coming who's a teacher, and she'll be able to help you. And so I said, okay. He said, just hang in there. And so I did. I did. And so from that encounter with her, mentoring me to teach religion, I became very good friends with the sisters. So I would end up going to the house. They invite me for tea. They invite me for supper, prayer. And so I got very close with them. So I was looking at their lives and stuff like that. And they are very good friends with my family. But see, I was away. I had to board here in PG while I was going to high school. So when they came, I didn't know them. And so I was just meeting them when I started school, teaching. And so anyway, so they would come to my house and I would see them go into people's house and just like one with the people.
Mm-hmm.
They were just comfortable. If they're given a hammock, they sit in the hammock, on the floor, on whatever food they were given to eat, they would, and just the way they wore. And then we had sisters from India too. And so one was like a nurse, did all the villages, mobile clinic, and also a midwife. And whatever time of the night she was called, she was there. And so those were the way they were present with the people really helped me to look at their lives and said, if they can do it, I can do it too. I would like to, to be like this with my people, because they're coming from far away. But yet, the way I saw them interacting and being with the people spoke deeply, touched me deeply. So, but that came and went. I started my teaching, got into, I furthered my education so I left, I came to Belize City and did my teacher education there. But the sisters, wherever I met them. Wherever I went, I met them. And they were always encouraging and supportive of me. Through them, I did the religious education coordinator. And then they had weekends at not Trinidad Farm, at Santa Familia. A week for young women and a week for young men. And different religious communities would come and give their presentation. They would encourage me to go. They never one day asked me, would you like to be a sister? So they would just encourage me. So I went, and I like the experiences. So I think that stayed with me. And then while I was in Belize City, we had a lot more sisters of charity there. And again, there were sisters at Martin's. So I was teaching at Martin's, and then I met the other sisters there. So I started going and visiting them too. And that's where it really got my desire to try this life really got stronger. And so I said, I really don't know, because they're from the US, how this would all work, but I felt connected with them. And
something about kind of their life and the way they were with you, it really awakened you.
So I said, well, I will give it a try and see. And so that's how it started. I give it a try now. Here I am.
How many years later?
It's now 21 years later.
So that initial, yes. I would imagine it's probably deepened even.
Oh yes. And yeah, just how the relationship has grown. I had to go to Nazareth, Kentucky for my formation.
Okay.
And that was a big step of leaving family behind, letting go of paid ministry and everything, and just packing my bag and going. And I have nobody in the States, not a family member. So I guess it was meant to be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like it.
But I never wanted to stay there. I've always wanted to come back home.
And so you did some formation then in Kentucky.
Mm-hmm. Most of my formation is there.
And how many years were you in Nazareth?
I was there, 6 years?
Okay.
But then I would come and go.
Okay. So you'd come home, visit family.
Right, and go. Mm-hmm.
And then you also spent time in St. Louis doing the master's in social work. Was
Right.
that a bit later, or was that?
Yeah, that was in 2007. I was already a professor.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And before we started filming, we were talking a little bit about how you did a lot of teaching kind of throughout the country.
Yes, 15 years.
And so, what would you say is a lesson you've learned from being in education here in Belize?
One, it is a calling. Being a teacher is a calling. You have to love children, and the connection with the family, with the home environment, is key if you want to help that child. And that's what actually led me to social work, because I was in the classroom teaching, and I really wanted the best for every one of those children. So I did a lot of home visits. I like to get to know the parents, to talk with them one-on-one, and also for the kids to know that I have been to their home. And that gives them a sense of pride. Children, when you go visit their homes and talk with their parents, say, my teacher come to my house, And so it was in doing that kind of work with teaching that I realized, there is a need to connect with the family. There is just so much that I saw and experienced, and I said, I wasn't sure what ministry that would lead me to, but I knew then that teaching was about time for me to move on to something else. And I discerned about what is the next ministry and how this is what I want, but what is the field? And then I was guided to social work.
I've heard it said, teachers don't teach content, they teach people.
Mm-hmm.
They teach kids.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like for you, that meant getting underneath, okay, this child is coming to the classroom, but where do they come from? And that led you to some deeper questions that ultimately led you, as you said, to social work. And eventually you ended up back here in PG, but more broadly in the Toledo district. So what led you back down here then?
From the onset of joining a religious community, my desire has always been to come back home. To come back home here to Toledo, because I have seen the greatest needs here. And like I said, I have been in ministry in the US. I have been all over Belize City. I have done some in Cayo. And I started here, and I was very aware of the needs here and the lack of resources in Toledo. So from the onset, that was my desire, to come back home and be of service here. I didn't know in what capacity, and I didn't know if that was going to be possible, because we didn't have any sisters here. The mission closed here. And so all along, when I first made vows as a temporary professed sister, I have been asking to come. And I was always said, no, you can't go because we don't have anybody to send with you. And that has always disappointed me. And I said, well, I really didn't join this community to be either in the States or in the city. My heart was here, and really it's not because I came from here, but because of the need and the lack of resources. So I prayed about it. I said, someday I believe it's going to happen. I don't know when, but God's timing is not my timing. So I let it go. And then when I came back with my social work degree, my first ministry back was in Belize City, St. Martin de Porres. And and that was good. But all the more as I worked there, the desire got stronger that I need to be doing this in PG or in Toledo. I need to be down there. And so that led me to resign from there. At the same time, one of our sisters, Sister Chris, was working at Hand in Hand Ministry as a nurse for HIV patients. She was finishing her, she was feeling it was time to move on. So I shared with her my desire. Would you be willing to venture down south with me? And she said, yes. I don't really know what I would be doing, but I am. And that, so when I went back to community, that was when that happened. Okay. So in 2014, we ventured out to move to start working. But we lived in San Antonio.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. We lived in San Antonio.
And that speaks a lot to her availability and openness too, to
yes.
just say, I'm willing
yes.
to go.
Mm-hmm. Not knowing what she would do, not really knowing what we would do. Not really knowing what we would do.
Just kind of trusting that the desire,
mm-hmm.
Was drawing you.
Yes, yes, yes.
You talked about something I found really profound in what you said is, I'm sure being from San Antonio, being from Toledo plays some role, but really what was drawing you back was the needs that you saw. For those who might not be as familiar with Toledo District, what are some of those needs and that you've seen?
Broad areas. The need for healthcare is a real need here. We lack healthcare. Sometimes we don't even have the basics of healthcare. Education. And when I talk about education, it's very broad. We have religious education of our children in school, of our teachers, our churches, with faith formation, spiritual formation. Also, in terms of working with our people here, life is hard, the economic aspect of it. So, supporting them.
And for most people, they're subsistence farmers.
Subsistence farming, yes. So, they do their farming like rice, corn, beans, some basic food plants that they can grow on their farm, and they try to sell that to get there. And so to support their kids to go to primary school, to higher education, is very, very difficult. Was difficult before, pre-pandemic. Now it's even more. And so, like this year, we've had lots and lots of people coming to the parish for support. Just basic support.
Just to meet basic needs.
Right, to meet basic needs, food, education, healthcare, medication, healthcare. And so, so that's it broad. Those are something, a ministry to the elders, senior citizens of our district, the shut-ins. So that's to name a few.
Yeah, a lot.
The name of
and how in your ministry, how have you been able to meet some of those needs, or how have you, along with the church here, been able to start responding?
Well, during the pandemic, the parish council ventured on taking the risk to venture opening a St. Vincent de Paul pantry program to respond to some of those needs. So we minister to the town here and to all the villages, which is like 30 plus villages that can get some help in terms of food. We have done clothing, and then I am also working with the leadership of the church. We have started providing some education program formation for our lay leadership, the catechists. I know through the parish we have helped a lot of some of these students from the villages, from a great number of these villages, through scholarship programs, and really trying to be present, having consultations with all the village churches just to kind of see what are some of the needs that they see, and how can we work together to strengthen some of the areas that need strengthening. So I think those are just some of the ways, trying to do outreach ministry to them, with them.
Sure, and being present.
Right. Present in listening with them, sharing with them, and when they need our support, we try to provide that.
And you mentioned spiritual formation. We've had a couple of episodes, one where we had Father Sam on, and another where Ian talked a little bit about his experience being out in the villages this summer. Maybe you could tell us from your perspective, what was it like to have these cursillos, these kind of small retreats, doing some spiritual formation. How did that meet some of those needs that you've identified? And what was it like for you to see that as somebody who's seen these needs for a long time?
It was a really filled with joy to see how these past 2 years, how we are trying to build that relationship, how we're trying to bridge that gap with our village churches, and just saying, we're here with you, you are not alone. And also, we have sensed the need, as the parish committee, as we went to visit these villages, sensed the need that they have felt abandoned for a long time. And so just the efforts we have tried in bringing them together, and those that have that came to these retreat cursillos, I sense in them great hope and a sense of like beginning to reconnect, which is so key. And
reconnect in what sense? With the church?
With each other, and their own faith, beginning to enrich that again. And so many have said, we have not been able to come together for a long time. Just that coming together, being with each other, sharing, also praying, and having some input. I sense energy, good energy for the most part, in them, and a real desire to want to keep the spirit of reconnecting with the parish and working together. So that whole month especially, because we have not really connected for a while with our senior catechists. those that have given years of their service to the parish, to the church. And so doing that with the help of our Jesuit friends that came that summer, we were able to do a whole month, and we were able to reach out to all the senior catechists that came, give them that opportunity to come and be energized once again. And
kind of rekindle.
yes, and I felt that's really what happened in different ways for different zones, because we had different groups of people. But there was that sense, and that was really fulfilling to see. And so as I look now to this year, I look to some more of these happening and building on what we have started, and that really gives me good energy.
Yeah, it seems like it's kind of injecting new energy and a sense of hope for the church that there have been years of abandonment, but it looks like, as you said, the last couple of years are pointing in a very different direction. You know, this will be our final question, but where do you find hope when you dream about the church in Toledo? What does it look like? And maybe that's 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the line, but what do you see when you dream about it?
I grew up here in Toledo, and the church back then was very alive, very strong, faith-filled, not divided like now. So that is what I hope to see. 10 or 15 years from now.
Vibrancy.
Yes, of coming back to that sense of who we are as church. What does that really mean? And being able to bridge those gaps where the divides are. What is it? And so that is my dream of us in Toledo here, for Toledo here, and really having that sense of church. And so I see it as a real exciting move, and with all these having celebrations like this is key, is important, and always trying to, when we look at the parish, it's all these villages and town. It's the whole. And so working really intentional towards that.
And it strikes me, that really the Toledo district is kind of a microcosm of the church. It's how do you figure out how to bring diverse groups together, and there's unity in that, without eliminating the fact that people are very different.
Right.
And that there can be this vibrancy, and that we can be church together.
Yeah.
Well, Sister Higinia, thank you so much, not only for taking the time, but inviting us into your home for us to film. And we're really excited again to celebrate 160 years of St. Peter Claver Parish. And thank you for all of your work. Thank you for inviting us in a little bit into your ministry, into your vocation. And hopefully we'll have you on again at some point in the future to hear more about how the church is growing into its vibrancy here in Toledo.
Okay, well, really thank you for the opportunity to finally get on this show with you all. And I'm happy to share the little bit that I can with you all, and for all those who are going to be listening to our conversation. So thank you all for making the time and bringing all your equipment here to do it on site in my house.
Absolutely. And for those who are watching or listening at home, thank you again for tuning in. If you are watching on Facebook or YouTube, we invite you as always to submit comments, questions, or perhaps ideas for a future episode. And with that, we are finished with our show for today, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.